all the unique characters,
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
all the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
IO.
OH.
IO.
OH.
Ayo!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 96 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. Recently, I featured a lot of fighters who were coming off wins at events like Ohio Combat League 31 and Cage Thunder 28, but for this one, I wanted to look ahead. So I looked at some cards coming up, the big fights on them, and I landed on the main event of Cage Thunder NexGen Fight Series 3. This 4-1 amateur fighter won his first amateur lightweight title in his last fight, and now he's going for another. Out of Revolution Fight and Fitness, it is Jordon Tague. Thanks for coming on the show, Jordan, and welcome to Forged in Ohio.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on the show, especially so close to what's going to be a big title fight for you. And we'll talk about that upcoming fight here shortly. But I wanted to dive into your backstory and career so far up to this point. I know you have a wrestling history, but when did combat sports first come around to you?
I started wrestling in high school. I started wrestling freshman year of high school. Did that throughout high school and then throughout college as well. I wrestled for 5 years in college, and then just kind of thought about starting in my MMA career. Kind of took a year off between college and training MMA, and started training 2 years ago, in 2022. So here I am now.
Starting wrestling in your freshman year of high school, was that something that you immediately felt a connection to and embraced when you first started as a freshman?
Yeah, I think I stuck to the sport pretty quickly. Started getting pretty good pretty quickly. I grew up playing baseball, so I never really had any experience in anything like that. But once I found the sport, I kind of fell in love with it. So,
was there anyone in your life that motivated you to give wrestling a try and actually sign up prior to that freshman year of high school?
Actually, my one of my best friends at the time, Chris Gonzalez, he was the one that told me he was going to try wrestling, and I was like, you know what, might as well try it as well. And it was the best decision I ever made.
How aware were you of MMA at the time, and was that ever something that piqued your interest, at least from a perspective of, hey, I might want to try that one day?
I was kind of aware of it. Me and my wrestling friends would watch UFC now and then. We actually did spar a little bit back then, but I wasn't any good. So, I always kind of thought about it, but I never thought I would be good at, picking up striking or anything like that. But, later on, kind of wanted to start learning the other skills, and I've enjoyed it since. So.
Yeah, so we know you started wrestling in high school and then obviously wrestled at Notre Dame College as well. When did MMA come around and actually be a serious thought in your mind of this is something I want to do?
Yeah, so like I said, I took like a year off after I graduated college in 2020. And then I went back and started coaching at Notre Dame College. And I was kind of getting the itch to compete again. I was seeing these guys compete every weekend, and I kind of wanted a little bit for myself again. And I was really good friends with Alonzo Turner and Wens Myrtle. They were both Notre Dame guys, and they told me about the Revolution Fight and Fitness and the gym. And so I was like, yeah, I'll check it out, and went there and loved it the minute I stepped in the gym, and started training and took it seriously. So, and then a a couple months later, they were like, "Yeah, let's get you a fight." So.
Starting off in wrestling and then getting into mixed martial arts, was there maybe a turning point? And maybe it was that first day at Revolution Fight and Fitness, but a turning point where you realized that you were really good at this and could make a run at a career in MMA?
Yeah, I mean, it just started off as, I just wanted to learn striking, wanted to learn boxing and Muay Thai, and obviously jiu-jitsu as well. I did a jiu-jitsu tournament about like a month into training, won that, and so my teammates were like, let's get you sparring. And my first time sparring, I sparred with a guy who had a couple fights, I believe, and I found out that my ground game was pretty good. My ground and pound and ground control was not bad. So yeah, that was kind of the turning point where I was like, maybe I could end up fighting and be good at it.
I hear all the time that MMA wrestling is different from other types of wrestling and perhaps from what you were doing growing up and at Notre Dame College. How true is that, and was that a hard transition for you at first?
Yeah, it's definitely different. There's a lot of different things that go into it. I think using the cage and stuff can be an advantage and a disadvantage to some people. The transition in itself, I don't think it was that hard for me. I think I've been able to use the cage and use that to my advantage for offense and defense pretty well. So it comes down to, I think, having good coaches. We have George Comer as our MMA coach over at the Rev, and he's done a great job. He was a college wrestler as well, so he's done a great job of helping us wrestlers kind of transition into wrestling for MMA. So very fortunate to be at the Rev and have him as a coach.
Do you think wrestling is the best background to have entering mixed martial arts? You hear all the time of especially in Ohio, right? These wrestlers that go into mixed martial arts rather than having a boxing or jiu-jitsu background or something like that. Does it put you that far ahead when you first start out, especially with that wrestling background as opposed to others?
Yeah, I definitely think it is for a couple of reasons. One being that wrestlers just know how to, get to the grind and work hard and be disciplined in this type of a sport. And two, I think it's hard to learn wrestling at a pace that you might be able to learn other skills. And that's not to say that, wrestlers are going to pick up striking and jiu-jitsu really quickly, but I don't think anyone else that's good at those other aspects can pick up wrestling as to the level that a college wrestler, for example, is going to be at the time you're going to fight them. So obviously in fights, anything can happen. Anyone can get knocked out or submitted. But for the guys that have the wrestling background, I think we have a huge advantage at just being very good at what we're good at and using that to our advantage.
We've talked so much about wrestling, but you've also shown your ability to strike in your fights. Who do you credit most for that development in your striking game?
Our striking coach, Tim Stafford, he's very good at teaching us striking, teaching us how to blend it with our wrestling. Him and George Comer, I mean, they're both, like I said, just great coaches and great at helping us transition from our other sports, whether it's football or wrestling, into the sport of MMA and teaching us how to use striking to our advantage and blending it with the things that we're already good at. So definitely them too. And then just my teammates as well. Iron sharpens iron. I've been training with some of the best guys in the state between Alonzo Turner and Logan Irvin and Mark Gordon, some of my teammates there. So, it's definitely a mix between my coaches and my teammates.
How do you view that ground game to what you can do on the feet? Maybe going to the ground is what you're comfortable with. Obviously, you're more experienced in that realm, but the growth is certainly there in the stand-up.
Yeah, I think I have a lot to learn in the stand-up. I feel like when I get to the ground, I'm very comfortable, very confident in what I can do on the ground. Not so much maybe on the feet, but it's coming and it's getting there. I just think I just need more experience when it comes to the feet. But like I said, when I'm on the ground, I'm totally comfortable and totally confident that I know what to do moving forward when I'm on the ground.
Yeah, how important is that too? I know we talked about your wrestling background and how when you first started you had a solid ground game. How important is using those wrestling skills, getting the fight to the ground, but then knowing what to do when you actually get the fight to the mat while you're down there?
Yeah, it's very important. You know, I don't know, just like I said with wrestlers and having that experience, we've had so much time putting our time into our craft of wrestling and being able to scramble and being able to transition from one position to the next, that it's hard for someone to learn that if you don't have that experience. So it's very important because I might take you down and you might be able to get up or get to another position, but I'm going to know exactly what to do when we get into that position, or I'm going to know exactly how to take you down again. So it's very important, and it's very key aspect to my game and to my skills in the cage.
Talking with Jordon Tague here on Forged in Ohio. Let's talk about your fights now. You won your first two fights via first round knockout and submission. What was that like going 2-0 to start your career and picking up two different types of wins inside the distance?
It was awesome. It was very exciting. Definitely gave me a lot of confidence as well that I could do this sport and make something out of a career in MMA. Going into it, I was a little bit nervous. I didn't really know how it would be, but when I got in the cage, it felt like home, felt like wrestling again. So, it just definitely gave me the confidence that this is where I needed to be, and that I'm can be really good at the sport, and just to keep working at it and keep getting better.
The submission specifically in your second fight was a good one and a lethal one. You actually put your opponent to sleep in that first round. Is that the first time you've ever really done that to an opponent before?
Yeah, it is the first time I've ever put someone to sleep. So that was pretty cool. Again, I was just, looking for the finish and looking for the submission, and, that was just position I was in at the time. And so it was definitely, it felt good to get that win.
What's your immediate reaction to something like that in the cage? Are you in the least bit concerned about your opponent, or is it just so much adrenaline? Hey, you got the win via first round submission, and you're obviously very excited and showing that emotion in the cage.
I mean, thinking back, I honestly didn't even know he was out until I looked back at the tape later. So, I got the finish. Obviously, the ref stopped it, and then I got up. You can see in the tape, I kind of like give him a tap to make sure he's okay. But there's so much adrenaline that I was just kind of excited to get the win and get the finish quickly. So.
The only blemish on your record comes in your third fight against Nico Odor at Cage Thunder 23. You lost via split decision, but those rounds were super close. Do you feel like you did enough that night to where your record should be 5-0 right now?
I don't know. In the fight, I definitely felt like I didn't do enough. In the fight, I felt like I had more to give and more to, I wasn't 100% on. Looking back, I feel like it could have gone either way. So I'm not mad about it. Definitely was a good learning experience, and, all respect to Nico, and that was a great fight, and he did a great job in that fight as well. So not saying that I didn't do enough, but not really necessarily saying that I did.
You mentioned learning from that loss. What did you learn most from taking that loss in your third fight to Nico?
Just to trust my skills, my conditioning when things aren't necessarily going well. I just remember there being a point in the fight where I couldn't really connect to my striking, and that was kind of new for me. Being from my first two fights where I got the finish really quickly, to this third fight where I'm kind of having some struggles and being like, all right, well, how do I go from here? And, continue on in the fight and try to keep looking for the finish and try to, keep scoring points. and just keep my calm and keep trusting myself and my conditioning as those moments come in a fight.
I know Nico Odor is doing his own thing right now as a 2-0 pro fighter, but is that one you'd like to get back one day, maybe when you guys are both pros?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to get that back when I turn pro. But, like you said, he's doing his own thing. He's doing well. He's 2-0 so far. So that'd probably be down the road, but definitely want to get that one back.
Is that something you look at all? I know you only have the one loss to Nico, but I've talked to other wrestlers, and maybe it's a wrestler mindset, but they often look at the opponents they've lost to and see if they've done well since that fight to maybe, I don't know if it's to maybe make themselves feel better about themselves or to make sure that they progress based off of you. I don't know if you know what I'm trying to get at here, but is that something that you ever look at when it comes to Nico?
Yes and no. I mean, it's one thing to say that, since we fought, he is 2-0 as a pro. So that makes me feel like, okay, well, that's not something to hang your head over. He's undefeated as a professional fighter. And I lost to a close fight to him. Other than that, I just don't want to dwell too much because I just want to keep getting better at the sport. And at the end of the day, it's still my amateur career. So I just want to get the experience that I can right now so I can put myself into a position when I one day can hopefully turn pro. So, kind of yes and no, but more so just kind of moving forward and looking at all the experience that I can gain as an amateur.
Yeah, and you've bounced back quite well from that loss as you're now on a 2-fight win streak. The latest one was on July 13th against Shane Swindig for Made Men's Amateur Lightweight Championship. How happy are you with that performance in your first title setting?
Pretty happy with that performance. Again, I was kind of looking for a finish in that fight, so not entirely happy. I did kind of gas out a little bit in that fight as well. So conditioning was one thing that I wanted to kind of get better from that one. But again, I mean, Shane was a game opponent, and that was a good fight. I feel like I did pretty well. My striking could have been better as well. Other than that, I went out and executed my game plan, got the finish or got the win. So not entirely happy 100% with it, but not disappointed at all.
I've heard different opinions on amateur titles through the 95 episode history of this show. I'd have to imagine that they carry some significance and mean something to fighters, but where are you on that?
It carries a little bit of significance to me. It's not, the end all be all, but it's definitely cool. It's definitely an honor, and it's not something I want to take lightly because I don't want to disrespect anyone. It's not every day that you fight for a title. So, I definitely am proud of it, and it is an accomplishment in the sport. But again, it's just a stepping stone for me to keep moving forward. So.
Once again, this is Jordon Tague on Forged in Ohio. You go for your second amateur title on October 5th against Devon Watkins at Cage Thunder NexGen Fight Series 3. Did you know that this was what was in the cards for you following the Swindig win, a shot at another title in a different promotion?
Yeah, I had been kind of talking with Cage Thunder about maybe fighting for their title a little bit before my last fight. So yeah, I kind of knew it was in the cards. We were just kind of trying to find someone to step up and take that fight. And I was hoping it would be Devon Watkins as we were close in the rankings. So looking forward to this one for sure.
I believe this is your first time headlining an event. How exciting is that for you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This being an all amateur fight card, it is cool to have both of our names on, the poster, and we're the headliner, and we'll be the last fight of the night. So it's very cool, and I'm just excited to, have everyone be there for us and kind of give them a good nightcap to that card, and put on a good show as the last fight.
I know you fought for a title already, but given that this is another title fight, people are there to watch you compete in the main event, your first time headlining, how much added pressure does that put on you ahead of fight night?
Not a whole lot. It's just another fight for me. I've been at some high stages in my wrestling career, so I think I've been prepared for something like this, and I try not to put too much pressure on myself for it. It's just another fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you're fighting Devon Watkins, who is 6-3 out of Victory MMA. You mentioned how he was almost the ideal opponent, or the opponent that you wanted to fight for this Cage Thunder lightweight championship. Why was he the guy that you kind of had pinpointed of, hey, I want to get in the cage with him?
So it's kind of funny. My first time seeing a live MMA show was Cage Thunder. I was there to support my teammates, Jake Tavano and Mark Gordon. They were fighting that night, and I saw him fight. And he came out there and probably got a knockout like really quick. And I was like, oh, this guy's good. He's in my weight class. This is something that would be a good test for me. So I want to fight this guy. That was like 2 years ago. So ever since then, I've seen him fight a couple of times, and still just kind of was itching to get that fight. And now here we are. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you hadn't even debuted in MMA yet. You went to this event and you saw him get one of his many electric knockouts, it sounds like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now now that you're booked against him, have you kind of, not a benchmark, I don't know if that's the right word, but have you been checking in on him to see where he's at, and not chasing him, but just wanting that fight more and more as you progress through your career?
Not necessarily. Again, I respect him. I think he's done a great job in his career. But again, I'm just trying to get all the experience I can as an amateur, and it's just another stepping stone in this career of mine. And I respect the challenge. I respect the fight that's ahead of me. But, I just try to stay focused on myself and getting better and getting in better shape every day, and, trying to prepare myself for this upcoming fight.
Do you think he is your biggest challenge to date so far in your career?
I think it's hard to say. I think he's obviously a very good striker, but someone like Nico was kind of maybe a bigger challenge for me, because he had, he was on par with the wrestling, and he had very good striking as well. So I would say yes or no, maybe because maybe his striking could be better than Nico's. I'm really not sure yet, but yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see when we get in there.
Is it safe to say that like he's the type of opponent that gets you excited and forces you to push harder in camp to make sure you have everything in order before fight night, or do you not really consider your opponent in that equation?
I think I try to consider everyone that I'm fighting in that equation. When I'm training, I kind of try to picture them coming after me. So yes, it does. I do use it to push me, but it's not specifically anyone. I think it's just the next person that I'm going to fight. I kind of put them in that line of fire, and make sure I remind myself that, they are coming after me. So I need to work my ass off for it. So.
Yeah, Devon has been to the scorecards once in his career. I know you have multiple finishes on your record as well. Do you think this main event fight ends inside the distance?
I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. We'll see who's on that night and who can capitalize on the strengths and who can capitalize on each other's weaknesses. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
How excited are you just to get in there and share the cage with Devon Watkins in your first career main event?
I'm just excited to be active again. When I was coaching wrestling for the last 2 years, so I had to kind of take some time off of fighting, and now that I'm not coaching anymore, I just want to keep being active and kind of fight every couple months. So I'm just excited to get back in the cage.
Yeah, and this is a big one to get back to. There's a reason why this fight is the main event. It's because it's one of the most exciting and premier matchups to be made in Ohio amateur MMA at 155 pounds. How confident are you that you and Devon are going to live up to that hype that, in my opinion, this fight fully deserves?
Yeah, I'm definitely confident. Again, like I said, I respect his skill in the realm of MMA. I'm confident in myself as well, and I'm sure he's confident too. So I think if we both we're both going in there thinking that we're gonna finish the fight, then make for a good fight. So.
Are we going to see the best version yet of Jordon Tague on October 5th?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, I'm excited for it. How do you win on October 5th in the main event of Cage Thunder Next Gen Fight Series 3 to become the promotion's next lightweight champion?
Looking for a finish for sure.
Looking for a finish. I love to hear it. Jordan, before we wrap up, anything you want to shout out here at the back end of the show? The floor is yours.
Just shout out to my coaches, my teammates at Revolution Fight and Fitness. Best gym in Northeast Ohio. Absolutely. Shout out to my friends and family that have supported me along the way, and looking forward to Cage Thunder Next Gen 3, October 5th, main event.
All right. Well, thanks again, Jordan, for coming on the show, especially given how close we are to your big amateur title fight. Before I let you go, I enjoy doing the OHIO chant with all guests that join the show. So, OH.
IO.
Thanks, Jordan. I appreciate the time. Good luck on October 5th, and I can't wait to see what it looks like when you and Devon Watkins collide in the cage.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me.
That was Jordon Tague, the 4-1 amateur mixed martial artist. Jordan is supremely talented. We've seen it through his wrestling career and now into what has been a 5-fight amateur career. Like we've talked about all podcast long, he goes for his second amateur title on October 5th in the main event of Cage Thunder Next Gen Fight Series 3 against Devon Watkins. That's two highly skilled and powerful men going at it, and I want you to let me know who you think wins on social media. You can follow the show at Forged in Ohio on both Instagram and Facebook, or if you're watching right now on YouTube, comment down below who you think wins this fight, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you aren't already. Don't forget to download episodes and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform if you haven't already as well. Thank you all for watching or tuning in. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.